The massive hall of the Galactic Council stretched wider than most cities. Its walls were made of pure crystal that showed the stars outside. In the center, 12 platforms floated in a perfect circle. Each one held the representative of a founding species of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Crixtal cleaned his many eyes with his front legs. As a member of the Hive Worlds, he had seen many council meetings. 10,000 sessions to be exact. Today should have been just another boring day of trade talks and border disputes. The Velthari representative was arguing about mining rights again. Their blue-scaled skin flashed different colors as they spoke. Across from them, the Zorvax collective speaker stood completely still. The Zorvax were plant-like beings who moved very slowly. Sometimes it took them an hour just to finish one sentence. "The asteroid belt in Sector 9 belongs to us," the Veltari said. "We found it first. Records show we filed claim before," the Zorvax began. Several representatives sighed. This would take a while. Crixtal turned to look at the Etherian delegate. These beings were made of pure energy and light. Their bodies looked like ghosts floating in special suits that helped them keep their shape. The Etherian was flickering, which meant they were bored. Everything changed when the emergency alarm went off. The sound was horrible. It had only been used 3 times in the Council's long history. Every representative jumped, floated, or jerked in surprise. The Quellax ambassador's feathers stood straight up. The Archon Prime, the oldest and most powerful member of the Council, opened all 6 of their ancient eyes. "What is the meaning of this alarm?" the Archon Prime asked. Their voice sounded like thunder. The center of the room lit up with a huge hologram. It showed a star map of the galaxy. One small dot in the outer edge was blinking red. The dot was in a sector that had been marked off limits for over 1,000 years. "Computer, explain the emergency," Crixtal said. His voice clicked and buzzed in his native language, but the translator made it clear for everyone. "Unknown species has achieved faster than light travel," the computer announced. "Location, System Sol, planet designation, Sol 3. Local name, Earth." Every being in the room froze. Sol 3 was a death world. No one was supposed to be able to live there. "That's impossible," the Velthari representative said. "Sol 3 is classified as unsurvivable. The gravity is too high. The weather is chaotic. There are millions of diseases. Nothing intelligent could evolve there." "Show us the data," the Archon Prime commanded. The hologram changed. It showed a blue and green planet. It looked pretty from space, but the Council knew better. The data streams appeared next to it. Massive oceans that could swallow whole continents. Earthquakes that could destroy cities. Storms with winds that could tear apart most ships. Temperature ranges from frozen wastelands to burning deserts. "How?" the Etherian delegate asked, their form flickering faster with worry. "We need the historical records," Crixtal said. He had a bad feeling about this. "Show us everything about Sol 3. The computer began displaying images and videos collected by their probes over thousands of years. The Council watched in growing horror. They saw beings that looked soft and weak compared to many species. No natural armor, no claws, not even proper fur to protect them from their hostile environment. But these humans, as they called themselves, didn't just survive. They thrived. The videos showed humans building cities in frozen wastelands. They saw them crossing vast oceans in primitive boats, facing storms that would terrify any sensible species. They watched humans climb mountains where the air was too thin to breathe properly, just to put a flag on top. "They do this for fun?" the Quellax ambassador asked, their translator barely managing their squeaking voice. It got worse. The historical data showed the humans' darker side. They saw wars where millions died. They watched humans split atoms and use the power to destroy entire cities. They observed humans creating diseases as weapons, building machines designed only to kill, and fighting each other with a violence that made even the warrior species in the Council uncomfortable. "They war against their own kind?" the Zorvax representative asked slowly. "But they are same species. Look at this," Crixtal said, pulling up more recent data. "They've been to their moon using chemical rockets." "Chemical rockets!" "Those are basically controlled explosions. They strapped themselves to bombs to reach space." The Etherian delegate's form was now flashing rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "There's more!" "Look at their entertainment." The screen showed something called action movies where humans watched other humans fight and blow things up for enjoyment. It showed horror films where they scared themselves on purpose. Most disturbing of all, it showed something called extreme sports, where humans jumped off cliffs with only fabric wings to slow their fall. They jump off high places for entertainment, the Velthari said in disbelief. When they could just not jump. The Archon Prime had been silent, watching everything with their 6 eyes. Finally, they spoke. Show me their current technological status. The display changed to show recent observations. 3 ships had been detected leaving Earth's system. They were using a type of faster-than-light drive that the Council's scientists said should be impossible with Earth's technology level. Yet there they were, working perfectly. How did they advance so quickly? Someone asked. Krixtal pulled up a timeline. Look at this. They went from not having powered flight to landing on their moon in less than 70 of their years. Most species take 300 years to make that same journey. Their development is exponential, the computer added. At current rate of advancement, they will match Council technology within 200 years. 200? The Quellax ambassador's feathers were shaking. The Etherians took 2,000 years to reach our level after achieving spaceflight. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. If these Deathworlders spread into the galaxy unchecked, what would happen? They were violent, unpredictable, and apparently impossible to stop. They lived on a planet that would kill any other intelligent species and called it home. They fought wars against themselves that would horrify any civilized being. And now they had faster-than-light travel. We have to make contact, the Archon Prime announced. Better to control the first meeting than let them find us on their own. Are you insane? The Velthari representative's scales turned bright orange, a color of fear. We should quarantine the entire sector. Build a barrier. Keep them contained. And when they break through? Krixtal asked. Because they will. Look at their history. Every barrier put in front of them, they've overcome. Every challenge they've conquered. They went to space in tin cans powered by explosions because they wanted to see what was there. The insectoid is correct, the Archon Prime said. Containment will only delay the inevitable, and likely make them hostile. We must appear strong but peaceful. We must make them want to join us rather than conquer us. But what if they're hostile anyway? The Etherian asked. The Archon Prime's 6 eyes looked at each display showing human history. Wars, plagues, disasters. And through it all, humans surviving, adapting, and growing stronger. Then may the universe help us all, the ancient being said quietly. The vote was called. One by one, each representative cast their decision. The choice was unanimous, though born from fear rather than hope. The Galactic Council would send a message to Earth. They would invite humanity to a neutral location for first contact. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, each going to prepare their species for the news, Krixtal stayed behind. He stared at the image of Earth on the display. Such a small, dangerous world. And yet it had produced a species that made the entire Galactic Council afraid. He pulled up one last file. It was a human phrase their probes had recorded. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. For humans, apparently nothing had killed them yet. And that terrified him more than anything else. The message was sent that night. It traveled faster than light across the vast emptiness of space. It was formal, polite, and welcoming. But every word was chosen carefully, designed to seem powerful but not threatening. The Council waited for a response, not knowing if they had just saved the galaxy or doomed it. 3 days later, Earth responded. The message was short. We'll be there. Looking forward to meeting the neighbors. The casual tone made every translator in the Council double-check their work. These Deathworlders, who had survived everything their hostile planet threw at them, who had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, who jumped off cliffs for fun, were treating first contact with alien life like a casual social event. The Galactic Council had faced many challenges in its 10,000 sessions, but nothing had prepared them for humanity. The waiting was the worst part. Every species in the Galactic Council had sent their best representatives to Nexus Station. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, floating in neutral space between all the major civilizations. It was huge, the size of a small moon, with perfect artificial gravity and atmosphere controls that could adapt to any species. Today, though, the station felt too small. Krixtal stood in the observation deck with the other ambassadors. His compound eyes could see in all directions at once, but they were all focused on the same point in space. That's where the humans would appear. Their ships are 2 minutes away, the station computer announced. The Quellax ambassador's feathers rustled nervously. Did everyone review the safety protocols? For the 5th time, yes, the Velthari representative said, but their scales showed they were just as nervous. The safety protocols were extreme. Force fields had been installed in every corridor. Medical teams from every species were on standby. The meeting room had been reinforced with the strongest materials known to the Council. They had even brought in military guards, though everyone wondered if it would matter against Deathworlders. Remember, the Archon Prime said, their ancient voice calm. We must appear strong but welcoming. Do not show fear. Easier said than done, Crixtal thought. Space rippled. 3 ships appeared out of hyperspace exactly where they said they would. The Council members all leaned forward to look. The human ships were strange. They were bulky and angular, not sleek and curved like most Council vessels. They looked like they were built for war, with thick armor plating and what appeared to be weapon systems. But the weapons were powered down and the ships moved slowly, carefully, making no aggressive moves. They call that a diplomatic convoy? The Etherean delegate whispered, their form flickering with anxiety. Scanning, the computer said. Ships are heavily shielded. Military-grade protection systems detected. Unable to scan interior. They brought warships to a peace meeting, the Velthari muttered. No, Crixtal said, studying the readings. Look closer. Those aren't warships. That's just how they build all their ships. Everyone turned to stare at him. They build civilian ships with military-grade shields? The Quellax ambassador squeaked. Before anyone could answer, a message came through. The screen lit up with the image of a human. She had dark hair tied back and brown eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. She was wearing what looked like a formal uniform, dark blue with some kind of symbols on it. Greetings, Galactic Council, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Coalition. We request permission to dock. The Archon Prime moved forward. Permission granted, Ambassador Chen. Welcome to Nexus Station. The human smiled. Several of the representatives took an involuntary step back. Those teeth, why did they have so many teeth? And why were they so sharp? Thank you. We'll be there shortly. The connection ended. Everyone rushed to the docking bay, taking their positions. The guards stood ready, weapons not quite pointed at the airlock but close enough. Medical teams waited in the corners. The atmosphere had been adjusted to what Earth normal should be, based on their data. The airlock hissed open. 3 humans walked out, and immediately, every alien in the room knew their preparations weren't enough. Ambassador Chen led the group. Up close, she was smaller than many of the species present, but she moved with a confidence that made her seem larger. Behind her were 2 men. One wore a military uniform with lots of medals. The other wore civilian clothes and carried some kind of electronic device. Ambassador Chen, the Archon Prime said, moving forward carefully. Welcome to Nexus Station. Chen stepped forward and extended her hand. The Archon Prime had been briefed on this custom but still hesitated. They reached out with one of their appendages and carefully touched the human's hand. Chen gripped it and shook it up and down. The Archon Prime's other eyes widened slightly. The grip strength was incredible, and the human wasn't even trying hard. Thank you for the invitation, Chen said. May I introduce my colleagues? This is Colonel Martinez, our military liaison, and Dr. James Patel, our science advisor. The 2 men nodded. Colonel Martinez was scanning the room with eyes that missed nothing. He looked relaxed, but Crixtal noticed how he positioned himself to see all the exits and guards. Dr. Patel seemed more interested in the aliens themselves, looking at each species with open curiosity. Fascinating, Dr. Patel said, looking at the Etherean delegate, a consciousness made of pure energy. How do you maintain coherence? The Etherean flickered in surprise. You can tell what I am just by looking? Well, the containment suit is a big clue, Patel said with what the humans called a grin. But the energy readings are incredible. I'd love to discuss your biology. Or would it be physics in your case? Perhaps we should move to the meeting room, the Archon Prime suggested. As they walked through the station, the humans looked around with interest, but no fear. They passed by windows showing the vast emptiness of space, and the humans barely glanced at it. They walked under the massive defense turrets, and Colonel Martinez just nodded like he was counting them. Your station is impressive, Chen said. How long did it take to build? 50 years, the Archon Prime replied. Interesting construction method, Martinez said, looking at the walls. Modular design? How did you know? The Velthari representative asked. You can see the connection points if you know what to look for, Martinez said casually. Good design. Easy to repair if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong. The way he said it so casually, like damage to a station, was just something that happened sometimes. They reached the meeting room. It was huge, with a massive circular table in the center. Each species had their own section with chairs or platforms designed for their body type. The humans were given chairs that looked almost comically normal compared to the alien furniture around them. Chen sat down without hesitation. The chair had been reinforced to handle Earth gravity, but it still creaked slightly under her weight. Earth normal gravity was 1.5 times what most council species were comfortable with. These humans carried that weight around like it was nothing. Before we begin formal discussions, Chen said, I wanted to address what I'm sure is the elephant in the room, or rather the death world in the room. Several translators struggled with elephant in the room before giving up and just conveying the general meaning. You're afraid of us, Chen continued. That's understandable. Our world is hostile by your standards. Our history is violent. We know this. But we're not here to conquer or threaten. We're here because we want to be part of something bigger. Your ships have military-grade shields, the Quellax ambassador said, trying to keep their voice steady. Of course they do, Martinez said, looking confused. Space is dangerous. There's radiation, debris, possible system failures. You can never be too careful. You consider space dangerous? The Zorvax representative asked slowly. You who live on Death World? Well, yeah, Patel said. I mean, one tiny breach and everyone dies. At least on Earth you can breathe the air, usually. Usually. The word hung in the air like a threat. Chen pulled out a container from her bag. I brought some food from Earth as a cultural exchange. Would anyone like to try some? She opened the container. Several species immediately backed away from the smell. What is that? The Etherian delegate asked, their form flickering rapidly. Chocolate chip cookies, Chen said. They're a dessert. Sweet food we eat for pleasure. Your pleasure food is made with a toxic substance, the Velthari said, scales turning yellow with alarm. Chocolate is poisonous to 90% of known species. Oh, Chen said, looking at the cookies. I didn't know that. They're harmless to us, actually quite healthy in moderation. Antioxidants and all that. She took a bite of one. Several species watched in horrified fascination as she consumed poison like it was nothing. Perhaps we should discuss the formal agreements, the Archon Prime said, trying to regain control of the meeting. For the next hour, they talked about trade agreements, borders, and regulations. The humans were reasonable, intelligent, and diplomatic, but little things kept happening that reminded everyone what they were dealing with. Martinez absently bent a metal stylus while thinking, not noticing, until it was folded completely in half. Patel sneezed once, and the sound was so loud that 3 species jumped in fear. Chen sat perfectly still for the entire meeting, barely blinking, with a focus that reminded several ambassadors of predators hunting prey. We're willing to agree to all standard council regulations, Chen said. We want to be good neighbors. We have a lot to offer. Our worlds might be hostile to you, but we can colonize them. We can mine resources from places you can't go. We can handle dangerous situations that might threaten other species. You want to be the council's danger handlers? Crystal asked. If needed, Chen said with another smile. We're good at it. During the break, the humans stepped outside to their ship to get something. The council members immediately huddled together. They're terrifying, the Quellax ambassador whispered. The big one, Martinez. His resting heart rate is what our soldiers have during combat, the medical officer reported, and that's normal for them. The next day started with what Ambassador Chen called a cultural exchange. The council members gathered in the station's largest presentation hall, trying to look interested rather than terrified. After yesterday's incident with the Void Predator, everyone was on edge about what the humans considered culture. Chen stood at the front of the room with her 2 companions. She looked professional in her Earth diplomatic uniform, but several species had noticed the outline of what might be weapons hidden under her jacket. Even their diplomats went armed. Thank you all for coming, Chen began. We thought it would be helpful for you to understand human culture better. After all, we're hoping to be neighbors and partners. The word partners made the Quellax ambassador's feathers ruffle. Partners with Deathworlders. What was the council thinking? We've prepared a few demonstrations, Chen continued. First, Dr. Patel will share some of our scientific achievements. Patel stepped forward with his electronic device. A hologram appeared above it, showing Earth in all its dangerous glory. Earth has unique challenges, he began. Our gravity is higher than 87% of inhabited worlds. Our atmosphere has weather patterns that can destroy entire cities. We have tectonic plates that move and cause earthquakes. But these challenges have made us innovative. The hologram changed to show human cities. They were massive, with buildings that reached toward the sky like metal mountains. We build structures to withstand earthquakes that would flatten most colonies, Patel explained. Our buildings can survive winds of over 300 kilometers per hour. We've learned to predict and prepare for disasters that would end other civilizations. You predict disasters? The Zorvax representative asked slowly. Some of them, Patel said cheerfully. Hurricanes, earthquakes to some degree, volcanic eruptions. We've gotten pretty good at it. Can't predict everything, though. Tornadoes are still tricky. Those things can pop up in minutes. Tornadoes? Krikstal asked. Rotating columns of air that can destroy everything in their path, Patel explained. We have a whole region called Tornado Alley where they happen regularly. You have a region where death columns appear regularly and you still live there? The Etherian delegate's form was pulsing with disbelief. Oh yes. Great farming land, Patel said like this was completely normal. The presentation continued. Patel showed them human medicine, which involved cutting people open to fix problems inside them. He showed them human transportation, including something called airplanes, which were metal tubes that flew through the sky at hundreds of kilometers per hour. He explained human food preservation, which included deliberately letting certain foods rot in controlled ways to make them taste better. Cheese is just controlled spoilage? The Veltari asked, looking sick. Delicious controlled spoilage, Patel corrected. Colonel Martinez stepped forward next. I'll be demonstrating some human physical activities. The council members all tensed. The military liaison was the most obviously dangerous of the three humans. He moved like a predator, always aware of everything around him. Humans have various ways of staying physically fit, Martinez said. Exercise is important for our health. Without it, our bodies deteriorate. You must actively maintain your physical strength? The Archon Prime asked. Yes. Our bodies are designed for constant use. In our past, we had to run, climb, and fight to survive. Now we do these things for health and entertainment. He started with what he called basic exercises, push-ups where he lifted his entire body weight with just his arms over and over. The gravity in the room was set to Earth normal for the demonstration. Most of the council members couldn't even stand in that gravity, but Martinez was lifting his body repeatedly like it was nothing. Then came pull-ups. He grabbed a bar above his head and pulled his entire body up until his chin was over the bar, then lowered himself and did it again, 20 times without stopping or showing any strain. This is basic, the Quellax ambassador whispered. Now for something more interesting, Martinez said. Chen stepped forward. Colonel Martinez and I will demonstrate a human martial art. This is a controlled display of combat techniques we use for sport and self-defense. Combat for sport? Krikstal's translator buzzed with confusion. The two humans faced each other and bowed. Then they began to move. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. They struck at each other with hands and feet, each blow powerful enough to shatter most species' bones. But they moved with such control, stopping just before making contact or pulling the strikes to tap lightly. They grabbed each other, threw each other to the ground, rolled and twisted in ways that seemed to defy physics. At one point, Chen had Martinez in what she called a chokehold, her arm wrapped around his neck. Any other species would have been dead in seconds. Martinez just tapped her arm twice and she let go immediately. They both stood up, not even breathing hard. That was just a demonstration, Chen said. In actual combat, those techniques would be lethal. You practice killing each other for fun, the Etherian delegate stated flatly. We practice defending ourselves, Chen corrected. The discipline, physical fitness, and mental focus required are beneficial. Plus, it's good to know how to protect yourself and others. Others? The Archon Prime asked. Of course, humans have a strong instinct to protect those who can't protect themselves. It's part of our evolution as social creatures. This was somehow even more terrifying. Not only were humans dangerous, but they were dangerous in defense of others. What would they do to protect allies? Now for our final demonstration, Chen said. We thought we'd share one of humanity's favorite sports. The center of the room was cleared. Dr. Patel brought out a strange oval-shaped ball. This is rugby, Martinez explained. It's a team sport where we try to carry the ball to the opposite end of the field while the other team tries to stop us. Stop you how? The Veltari asked nervously. By tackling, knocking us to the ground. Every alien in the room took a step back. You'll be playing against each other, right? Crixtal said quickly. Just humans. We need more players for a proper demonstration, Chen said. We brought some of our crew from the ships. With your permission? The Archon Prime nodded slowly. What else could they do? 10 more humans entered the room. Men and women of various sizes, all looking excited. They divided into 2 teams and took positions. The rules are simple, Martinez explained. Carry the ball forward. Pass it backward or sideways, never forward. If you're tackled, you must release the ball. Try to get the ball to the end zone. Begin, Chen said. What followed was controlled chaos. Humans slammed into each other at full speed. Bodies flew through the air. The sound of impact was like ships colliding. They grabbed each other, threw each other down, stepped on and over fallen players. And they were laughing. These insane Deathworlders were enjoying this. One player got hit so hard he flew 3 meters backward. He got up immediately, shook his head and ran back into the game. Another had blood running from her nose. She wiped it on her shirt and kept playing. A third twisted his ankle in a way that made several watching species feel sick. He just wrapped it with some tape and limped back onto the field. Medical assistance? The station's chief medical officer asked, moving forward. For that? No, they're fine, Chen said casually. These are minor injuries. Minor injuries. Blood, twisted joints, and impacts that would kill most species were minor injuries to humans. The game ended when Martinez carried the ball into the end zone, dragging 3 other players who were trying to stop him. Everyone was covered in sweat, some blood, and they were all smiling. Good game, one of them said, helping an opponent up from the ground. The same person who had just violently slammed them into the floor was now offering a hand in friendship. That's rugby, Chen said to the shocked alien audience. We have sports that are even more intense. Ice hockey, for example. That's like this but on frozen water with blades on our feet and sticks to hit things with. You put knives on your feet and play sports on ice. The Quellax ambassador's voice was barely a whisper. They're not knives, they're skates. But yes, essentially, Patel said. The humans were cleaning up now, wiping away blood and sweat like it was nothing. One was putting a dislocated finger back into place with a casual pop that made half the room flinch. Any questions about human culture? Chen asked brightly. The Zorvax representative slowly raised an appendage. Why do you hurt yourselves for entertainment? It's not about hurting ourselves, Martinez explained. It's about pushing our limits, testing ourselves. We become stronger through challenge. Plus, the adrenaline rush is amazing. Adrenaline? The Archon Prime asked. A chemical our bodies produce in dangerous situations, Patel explained. It makes us faster, stronger, and reduces pain. We can trigger it through sports and activities like this. Many humans are actually addicted to the feeling. You're addicted to danger, the Etherean delegate said. It wasn't a question. Some of us, Chen admitted. We call them adrenaline junkies. They jump out of aircraft, climb mountains without safety equipment, swim with predators. Swim with predators? Crixtal's compound eyes all focused on her at once. Sharks, mainly. Large aquatic predators with multiple rows of teeth. Some humans dive into the ocean to swim near them for fun. Your oceans have predators and you swim in them for fun? Word spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Every species in council space was talking about the Deathworlders. Videos of the rugby match had somehow leaked from Nexus Station. The footage of 2 humans handling a void predator was being analyzed by every military in the known galaxy. The reports were all saying the same thing. Humanity was unlike anything they had ever encountered. On the station, the council members were receiving messages from their home worlds. Fear, panic, and desperate requests for information flooded in. The Quellax ambassador had gotten a priority message from their world's defensive committee asking if they should start building bunkers. Crixtal stood in his quarters, looking at the reports from the hive worlds. His people were efficient at gathering information, and what they had found about humans made his chitin feel cold. The humans called their history colorful. The hive called it nightmarish. They had split atoms for weapons. Less than a century after discovering radioactivity, they had fought 2 wars that involved their entire planet. They had come close to destroying themselves with nuclear weapons multiple times and called it the Cold War because they didn't actually fight. Just threatened each other with total annihilation for decades. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was how they viewed these events. The humans taught their young about these wars in schools. They made entertainment about them. They had games where people pretended to fight in these horrible conflicts for fun. They studied their wars, learning how to fight better next time. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. It was the Velthari representative. "We need to talk," the Velthari said, their scales shifting to a pattern of deep concern. "About the humans? About what my government just told me. They've been analyzing human biology. Do you know what their planet has? Besides high gravity and extreme weather?" "Diseases," the Velthari said. "Millions of them. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. The humans are walking biological weapons factories. Their bodies are constantly fighting off infections that would kill us in hours." Crixtal's eyes widened. "They're sick? No, that's the terrifying part. They're healthy. Their immune systems are so powerful they don't even notice they're carrying these diseases. But if they sneezed on us, wow, we'd die. The medical team did scans yesterday. One of the humans had something called a common cold, a minor infection for them. The computer calculated it would have a 97% fatality rate among Quellax." They stood in silence for a moment, absorbing this information. "There's more," the Velthari continued. "My intelligence service has been monitoring their communications. The humans have been very open about sharing information, but we've discovered something. They have a saying, 'Trust but verify.' What does that mean? They're being friendly, but they're also scanning everything. Our defenses, our technology, our biological data. They're learning our weaknesses while showing us theirs." "Except their weaknesses don't matter," Crixtal said. "What are we going to do, throw a void predator at them?" "They'll make it a pet," another chime. This time it was the Etherian delegate, their energy form flickering rapidly. They floated into the room without waiting for permission. "Emergency meeting," they said. "The Archon Prime has called everyone. Something's happened." They rushed to the council chamber. The Archon Prime was already there. All 6 eyes focused on a display. The human ships were still docked peacefully, but something else was on the screen. "Long-range sensors have detected more human vessels," the Archon Prime said. 72 ships have just entered the outer edge of this system." 72? The Quellax ambassador's feathers stood straight up. "They're invading!" "No," the Archon Prime said. "They're not moving toward us. They're just waiting." Ambassador Chen sent a message. "She calls it a precaution." "Precaution against what?" the Zorvax representative asked. "Against us doing something stupid," Crixtal said quietly. "They're showing us that they came in peace by choice, not because they had to." The door opened. Ambassador Chen walked in alone, hands visible and empty. She looked calm, but there was something different about her posture. She looked like Martinez had looked when he spotted the void predator. "Ready? Ambassadors?" she said with a nod. "I apologize for the arrival of our fleet. We've been monitoring communications from your worlds. We know many are afraid. Some are even discussing military action against our 3 ships. We thought it best to show that attacking us would be inadvisable." "You're threatening us?" The Velthari scales turned bright red. "No," Chen said firmly. "We're preventing a misunderstanding. If someone attacks our diplomatic convoy thinking 3 ships are all we have, it could start a war. Now everyone knows that's not the case. War prevented. By showing you could destroy us," the Etherian delegate said. "By showing we choose not to," Chen corrected. "Those ships will leave as soon as our negotiations are complete. They're not here to threaten. They're here to make sure everyone thinks very carefully about their next actions. The Archon Prime leaned forward. And what if we decide humanity is too dangerous to allow in council space? Chen smiled. It wasn't the friendly smile from before. This was the smile of someone holding all the cards. Then we leave. We go back to Earth and develop on our own. In 50 years, maybe 100 will have caught up to your technology anyway. Then we'll meet again. But by then we won't know you as friends who welcomed us. We'll know you as people who feared us and rejected us. Which version of humanity would you prefer to meet? The threat was polite, reasonable, and absolutely terrifying. However, Chen continued, her smile becoming warmer. I don't think that's necessary. We have a proposal. She activated a hologram. It showed the galaxy with council space marked in blue and Earth in green. The council controls the core systems, she said. Safe, stable, comfortable worlds. But there's vast territory you can't use. Death worlds, hazardous systems, places too dangerous for your species. We can colonize those. You want the death worlds? Crixtal asked. We thrive on them. Your death worlds have gravity, atmosphere, and resources we can use. In return, we provide the council with resources from these worlds. Metals, gases, minerals you can't safely extract. We become your miners, your explorers, your scouts in dangerous territory. And your military? The Archon Prime asked. If needed, Chen said. You have problems like the Void Predators. Pirates who hide in systems too dangerous for your forces to follow. Anarchist factions on hazardous worlds. We can handle those. You want to be our warriors, the Velthari said. We want to be your shield, Chen corrected. We've been warriors for all our history. We're tired of fighting each other. Give us something better to fight for. And if we say no? The Etherean delegate asked. Chen shrugged. Then we go home. We develop alone. And eventually, inevitably, we expand anyway. Space is big, but not infinite. We'll meet again. The question is whether we meet as friends or strangers. The council members exchanged glances. The human was right. They could reject humanity now. But they couldn't stop them forever. Earth's technology was advancing at a rate that terrified their scientists. What would humans be capable of in another century? We need to discuss this, the Archon Prime said. Of course, Chen stood. But while you discuss, consider this. Yesterday, a Void Predator got onto your station. Your most secure facility. How? How often does that happen? How many people have you lost to threats you couldn't handle? She walked to the door, then paused. Humans have a saying. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. We're very good at dealing with enemies. The question is whether you want us dealing with yours or becoming one ourselves. She left. The council sat in stunned silence. She threatened us, the Velthari said. Politely, but she threatened us. She told us the truth, the Archon Prime corrected. They will expand with or without us. We can guide that expansion or be consumed by it. The fleet outside, the Quellax ambassador said quietly. 72 ships. If those are just their diplomatic protection, how many warships do they have? The question is irrelevant, Crixtal said. Even one human ship could devastate us. They live on a death world. Their civilian technology is military grade by our standards. I've been studying their biology, the medical officer said. Everyone turned to look at them. The diseases are concerning, yes. But there's something else. Humans heal from injuries that would be permanent for us. They can lose organs and survive. They can break bones and the bones heal stronger. They adapt to poisons by building immunity. They're not just dangerous, they're nearly indestructible. So we have no choice, the Zorvax representative said slowly. We have a choice, the Archon Prime said. Accept them as allies or make them enemies. But remember, they came in peace. They're following our rules. They're trying to find a place in our society. Do we really want to reject that and face the consequences? What if they turn on us? The Velthari asked. What if they don't? Crixtal countered. What if they really do just want to explore and make friends? What if we're turning away the best allies we could ever have because we're afraid? Of course we're afraid, the Quellax ambassador squeaked. They eat poison, play with death, and capture Void Predators for fun. Exactly, the Archon Prime said. And they're on our side. Imagine having that power protecting us instead of threatening us. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed more in those months than in the previous 1,000 years. The changes started small but spread like ripples in a pond, touching every corner of civilized space. The first human colony outside Sol was established on Nightmare, a planet the Council had marked as the most dangerous in charted space. It had acid rain, electromagnetic storms, gravity fluctuations, and predators that could survive in pools of liquid mercury. The humans built a thriving city there in 3 months and opened a tourism industry for extreme camping. No other species took them up on the offer. Crixtal stood in the newly constructed human section of Nexus Station. The humans had insisted on adding their own area, built to Earth specifications. Walking through it required an environmental suit for most species. The gravity was crushing, the air pressure intense, and the humans kept it at what they called room temperature. But what everyone else called barely survivable heat, he found Ambassador Chen in what the humans called a gym. She was lifting weights that weighed more than most sentient beings. Her new aide, a young man named Thompson, was spotting her. Ambassador Crixtal, Chen said, setting down the weight with a clang that vibrated through the floor. Good to see you. How's the new trade agreement working out? The hive worlds are very satisfied, Crixtal admitted. The minerals from the Chaos Belt were thought unreachable. Your miners extracted more in a week than we thought existed. The Chaos Belt was an asteroid field where gravity fields overlapped in unpredictable ways. Ships would be torn apart by shifting forces. The humans had sent in miners with jetpacks and pickaxes, calling it a bit wobbly but manageable. Glad to help, Chen said. Thompson, tell him about the pirate situation. Thompson, who looked barely adult by human standards, but could probably tear apart a Veltari warrior with his bare hands, pulled up a hologram. The Scorpion Syndicate had been hiding in the dead zone for 30 years, he said. Radioactive nebula, sensor interference, and gravity wells everywhere. Perfect hiding spot. Had been? Crixtal noticed the past tense. Colonel Martinez took a squad in last week. The pirates surrendered after the first encounter. They surrendered. The Scorpion Syndicate never surrenders. They did after Martinez ripped their leader's ship's door off with his bare hands and walked in through the radiation that should have killed him in seconds. He was wearing what humans call light protective gear. Crixtal's translator struggled with the concept. Light protective gear in a radioactive nebula? The pirates are now in Council custody, Chen added, and the dead zone is being mapped for possible colonization. Humans want to colonize a radioactive nebula? Great view of the stars once you get used to the radiation, Thompson said cheerfully. Plus, the mutations could be interesting to study. Mutations. They were excited about mutations. Before Crixtal could respond, an alarm sounded. Not the station alarm, but Chen's personal communicator. Ambassador, we have a situation, a voice said. The Etherian homeworld is under attack. Chen's demeanor changed instantly. The friendly diplomat became a predator ready to hunt. Who's attacking? She demanded. Unknown. They came from dark space. Technology we've never seen. The Etherian Defense Force is being overwhelmed. How far? 6 hours by standard FTL. We can make it in 4, Chen said. She looked at Crixtal. Ambassador, the Council needs to convene. Humanity is responding to this threat. You're going to war? Crixtal asked. The Council hasn't voted. The Etherians are Council members. An attack on one is an attack on all. We're not going to war. We're going to stop one. She was already moving, Thompson beside her. Crixtal followed, his multiple legs clicking on the metal floor. How many ships will you send? He asked. All of them, Chen said simply. All of them? Every human vessel within response range. The message is already sent? They reached the command center. The main screen showed the Etherian system. Multiple unknown vessels were bombarding the Etherian homeworld, a planet made of crystallized energy, where the Etherians lived as pure consciousness. The unknowns were unlike anything in the Council database. Black ships that seemed to absorb light, using weapons that disrupted energy patterns, perfect for fighting Etherians who were made of energy. Sir, Thompson was reading reports. The Etherians have lost 30% of their population. The energy disruption weapons are dissipating their consciousness. They can't reform. They're dying permanently, Chen said quietly. Then louder. Get me Admiral Foster. The screen changed to show a human in military uniform. Behind him was the bridge of a warship. Ambassador, Admiral Foster said. We're already moving. 60 ships will converge on the Etherian system. Rules of engagement? Protect the Etherians. Stop the attackers. Extreme force authorized, Chen nodded. Admiral, the galaxy is watching. Show them why Earth children sleep safely at night. It was a strange phrase, but it sent chills through Krixtal's chitin. Earth children slept safely on a death world because human adults were scarier than any monster. The next hours were tense. The council convened an emergency session. Some members wanted to negotiate with the unknowns. Others wanted to evacuate nearby systems. The Velthari representative suggested surrendering the Etherian system to avoid wider conflict. Then the human fleet arrived. The tactical display lit up with dozens of human ships dropping out of FTL in perfect formation. They didn't hesitate, didn't announce themselves, didn't try to negotiate. They attacked. It was controlled savagery. Human ships slammed into the unknown fleet with weapons that shouldn't exist. Kinetic rounds accelerated to near light speed. Nuclear missiles by the dozens. Energy beams that cut through shields like paper. But most terrifying were the boarding parties. Humans in powered armor launched themselves through space directly at enemy ships. They attached to hulls with magnetic boots and cut their way inside with plasma torches. The camera feeds from their helmets showed them moving through alien corridors, engaging in hand-to-hand combat with things that defied description. One feed showed Martinez himself, leading a squad. An unknown alien, 3 meters tall with claws like swords, charged at him. Martinez didn't dodge. He stepped forward, grabbed the alien and used its own momentum to throw it into a wall so hard the metal dented. Then he kept moving, not even breathing hard. They're boarding ships in the middle of a space battle, the Quellax ambassador said faintly. Standard human tactics, Thompson explained. Why destroy a ship when you can capture it? The battle turned quickly. The unknowns had been prepared to fight energy beings like the Etherians. They were not prepared for humans. When one unknown ship tried to use an energy disruption weapon on a human boarding party, the humans just walked through it. Disruption field is annoying, one Marine reported over comms. Feels tingly. A weapon designed to destroy consciousness felt tingly to humans. The unknown fleet tried to retreat. The humans didn't let them. They pursued disabled engines, boarded more ships. In less than an hour, the entire enemy fleet was either destroyed or captured. Admiral Foster appeared on screen again. Threat neutralized, Ambassador. We have prisoners and intact technology for study. Casualties? Chen asked. 3 wounded. Private Johnson broke his arm punching through a bulkhead. Should have used the door. 3 wounded. The humans had destroyed a fleet that overwhelmed the Etherian Defense Force, and they had 3 wounded, 1 from punching too hard. The Etherian delegate materialized in the council chamber. Their form was weak, flickering. They began. They saved us. They didn't hesitate. They just came and fought. That's what we do, Chen said simply. Your council. You're under our protection. We didn't ask for protection, the Etherian said. You didn't have to. The room was silent. Then the Archon Prime spoke. The unknown attackers. Who were they? Thompson pulled up the data. They call themselves the Devourers. They're from another galaxy. They consume energy-based life forms. They've destroyed 12 civilizations in their home galaxy. And now? Crixtal asked. Now they know about humans, Chen said with that predator smile. The survivors are being questioned. They're very cooperative. Cooperative? After Martinez explained what would happen if they weren't, yes. Very cooperative. On screen, they could see one of the captured Devourers. It was talking rapidly to a human interrogator, seemingly eager to share information. In the background, Martinez was casually bending a metal bar with his hands. The message was clear. They want to negotiate a surrender, Thompson reported. The entire Devourer civilization wants to surrender to humanity rather than face war with us. That's unprecedented, the Archon Prime said. They're energy vampires who met something scarier than them, Chen said. Humans have dealt with worse. We have stories about vampires. We know how to handle them. Over the next days, the galaxy watched as humanity negotiated the complete surrender of the Devourers. The terms were simple. Never attack Council space again, provide all technology and intelligence, and spread the word to other hostile civilizations that this galaxy was protected by humans. The effect was immediate. 3 other aggressive species who had been probing Council borders quietly withdrew. The pirates operating in fringe systems disappeared overnight. Even the void predators seemed to avoid systems with human colonies.